Welcome, everyone. I'm Scott Harvey, older man with a beard. If I don't keep my beard trimmed, I get confused for Santa Claus sometimes. But no, you're not going to get that free bicycle, not unless you behave better. Welcome. I want to welcome everyone to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness. No matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming, we greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning. During the prelude, please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If you're in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood are you in? Or if you're elsewhere, what city are you in? And now the prelude prepares us for worship. And you'll notice the picture on the front of your order of service. I thought that across the universe might be appropriate for this. It sounded good.
I'm happy to add my welcome to that of Scott Harvey. I'm Reverend Sue Redfern Campbell. I'm a woman in her late 70s. I have short hair. Today I'm wearing a cream colored and black sweater jacket and a green shell, I guess. And I also have, in honor of Earth Day, a leafy green stole. Our chalice lighter this morning is Rob Ham. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope. Here at First Unitarian, there is a commitment to sharing pronouns and offering self-descriptions as part of the effort to ensure that no one is excluded from full participation in the life of our church. And I already gave a description. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And also in a spirit of inclusion, our sanctuary is equipped with a telecoil hearing loop system. And if you are interested in learning how to use that, please see your hearing aid provider. We have large print orders of service and large print hymnals, which are available at the back of the sanctuary. And I think if you raise your hand, one of the ushers would bring one of those to you. Our ushers today are members of the Sustainable Living Organization, or SLO. The SLO group is about developing our community in a way that makes ecological and economic sense. The SLO invites us all to engage in sustainable living, and they will help to empower us to do so. This means to take stock of how we impact all life on Earth, and then to adjust our habits in respect for the interdependent web of all existence. And now we have a special announcement from Barbara Gallivan.
Good morning. As she said, I'm Barbara Gallivan, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm an older woman with white hair and a blue blouse on today. So have you bid yet? The auction opened you have, good. It opened at 1 minute after midnight, and it's really very wonderful. I'm so happy this year. We didn't do things like vases and that sort of thing. It's all events and certificates, wonderful gift certificates from so many restaurants and museums and things like that. And our members really came through and offered all kinds of dinners and special events that you're really going to enjoy. So it's open now, and it'll be open for 13 days, and you can start bidding as soon as you get home. And then just keep bidding, keep watching every day, keep looking, because somebody will outbid you, and then you want to get in there again. It's a lot of fun. It's very competitive and fun. Now, you received an email from Marlise with your instructions as to how to do this. You have to go in and register, and then it's a great program. It really works well, but you have to follow all the steps that it tells you to do. And once you're in there, besides seeing what's available and bidding, you can see lots of other things too. For example, we have the items that are going to be auctioned live on Saturday night, May 4th. You can see what they are, but you can't bid on them now. Saturday night, May 4th, we're going to have a party, which we're calling Auction de Mayo. And so we'll bid on those wonderful things live at that time, and we'll have Mexican snacks and drinks and maybe some music and things like that. You'll also see that we have 2 missions there, and you can contribute to one or both, or not at all if you don't want to. One of them is the playground, which, you know, we're always raising more money to try to get that playground going. And the other one is our church gets behind on paying our dues to the Voice organization. So we thought that could be the other mission, and you can contribute to that. Let's see. If you have any questions, look for us during the coffee hour. The auction committee is Joan Kane, Deb Kretzinger, Emily Dunnigan, Carmen McBride, Maria Todd, Becky Talent, and me. And not everybody's here, but most of us will be in there, and you can come and ask us questions. Hope you're going to do it. Bid.
Our opening hymn is Wade in the Water, number 210 in the gray hymn. In addition to being Earth Sunday, today has been declared Non-Binary Parents' Day, a day for honoring those parents who don't identify as either mothers or fathers. So I invite us to keep centering with this blessing written for Non-Binary Parents' Day. To all the in-betweens, outside ofs, not quites, both ands, and neithers, we honor all of you, who you are, and how you nurture and care. Through your embodied, authentic self, you impart a transformative love, a love that is abundant, bold, holy, and you. On this Non-Binary Parents' Day, may we amplify this transformative love into a world that allows everyone to be secure and safe, to rest, to breathe, to relax. On this joyous day, we celebrate the sacredness of your relationship and role. And now I have a story, and it's an interactive story. You all have a part, which I will tell you, and I promise I'll cue you on it. And I don't think the original tellers were thinking about recycling, but it reminds me of Earth Day and recycling, and it's called Joseph the Tailor. Now, tailors are not as prevalent today as they used to be, but for those who may have never have encountered a tailor, it's someone who sews usually men's clothing, but it could be clothing for anyone. So Joseph the tailor was the best tailor in the village. And that's right, I was going to give you your parts. I sailed right into the story. Okay, so you have the following line, and I will cue you with my right hand. And the line is, "Throw it out." And may I hear you say it back to me? Throw it out. That's pretty good. Can you say it a little louder? Throw it out. All right. And then at the very end, there's one line that's a little different, and I'll try to remember to cue that one with my left hand. And this is the part of Joseph's spouse, Sarah, and you should try to say it as snarkily as you can. And it's, "You can't make something out of nothing." Can you say that? You can't make something out of nothing. I think you've got it. All right. So Joseph was the best tailor in the realm, and he made clothing, beautiful clothing for many people, and he made a coat for himself. It was a nice, warm, long wool coat, and he wore it, and he wore it, and he wore it, and finally it started looking a little frayed, and it was long, so sometimes he walked through mud puddles, and it got to be kind of messy looking. In fact, it was looking very, very shabby. And so finally, Joseph's wife, Sarah, couldn't stand it any longer, and she said, "Joseph, throw it out." And Joseph said, "What? How can I throw it out? After all, I'm a tailor." So he cut, and he snipped, and he stitched, and he sewed until he made a very elegant jacket. It was beautiful, and he wore that for years. But after a while, as with jackets, the sleeves got frayed, and it was looking kind of shabby too, just like the coat. And so Sarah once again said, "Joseph, throw it out." "What? How can I throw it out? After all, I'm a tailor." So he cut, and he snipped, and he stitched, and he sewed until he had a fine vest. Those frayed sleeves were gone. But eventually the vest got kind of shabby looking too, and he'd spilled coffee on it one day and soup on it another. And Sarah got really tired of looking at it, and she said, "Joseph, throw it out." "Well, how can I throw it out? After all, I'm a tailor." So Joseph cut, and he snipped, and he stitched, and he sewed until he had a fine necktie. And does everybody know what a necktie is these days? So he wore the necktie all the time, but eventually that got pretty messy. He actually dropped it in the soup one day and so Sarah said, "Joseph, throw it out." "What? How can I throw it out? After all, I'm a tailor." So he cut, and he snipped, and he stitched, and he sewed until he made a nice handkerchief, which he tucked in the pocket of a new coat. And handkerchiefs eventually get really messy. And so once again, Sarah said, "Joseph, throw it out." And Joseph once again said, "How can I throw it out? I'm a tailor." So he cut, and he snipped, and he stitched, and he sewed until he'd made a nice little button. and he sewed it on his new jacket, and one day it popped off and it fell onto the street and into the gutter, and it rolled away and it was gone. And at that point, Sarah said, "Ah, Joseph, today I'm a happy woman, because if there's anything I know, it's that you can't make something out of nothing." Can't make something out of nothing, but I made this story out of it, proving that you can make something out of nothing. So now I'm happy to turn the stage over to, I'm sorry, Tempe. But after you've had a chance to talk about recycling a little bit.
Sorry, guys. I'm Tempe Nichols-Rude, current chair of Sustainable Living Organization. I'm a 75-year-old Euro-American woman with graying hair, wearing a yellow jacket and multicolored shirt. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm here to tell you about recycling and composting now at First Unitarian. 20-some years ago, when my husband Fenton and our daughter Shanti came to First Unitarian Church, there was a garbage crisis. We were invited, Fenton at that time in his position at the Department of Environmental Quality was known as the garbage guru. So he was drafted into helping find a solution to the trash. Well, part of the problem with the trash is that we have no room for a commercial dumpster here. And so he worked with the city of Oklahoma City, who doesn't generally provide trash service to commercial or church groups or multi-family dwellings. But he managed to arrange for that, and part of that was we could only have 4 trash bins, but they would pick up recycling. So that's how recycling got started here, and that's 20-something years ago. Fast forward to this last summer, the city of Oklahoma City notified us that they would no longer accept recycling here. Now, they told us that before, and we just ignored it. Well, this time they actually enforced it. So we contracted with a local organization, a cooperative, an owner funded cooperative called Fertile Ground, and they pick up our recycling here at the church on a weekly basis. They also provide compost services for us. This is really lucky in a lot of ways because it eliminates a lot of the load on the 4 trash cans, which we still can get picked up by the city. So let me tell you about the commingled recycling. Includes plastics, your plastic bottles, milk containers. The plastics that are accepted are number 1s, 2s, and 5s. They also take aluminum, steel or tin cans, cardboard, paperboard, and office paper. Those can all go in one bin outside. At first we had to wrap it, or we had to put it in clear plastic bags so they could see that we were doing a good job of sorting these things and not putting extra things in. So now we don't have to do that because we passed that first test, so we've eliminated the plastic bags there. Glass goes into a separate container. These are in the trash enclosure, or you will find these bins throughout the church. The other thing, which is new for us, is compost. We have a couple of 5-gallon buckets around the kitchen area where we can put food waste. We can put, that includes milk, meat, dairy, any kinds of plant vegetable garbage, wax paper, paper towels, and napkins can also be composted in their facility. The compost and the trash, the commingled recycling is picked up on a weekly basis. The glass is only picked up once. This is a great, once a month. So this is a real great advantage for the church, but it also is good for people in the area who live in apartments or who may live in a community that doesn't do recycling, like where we are in rural Lincoln County. We can bring and sort our recyclables and our compost. So our funding, we're charged $150 a month for this service, and we fund this through the sale of our fair trade and organic chocolate and coffees and teas. So come see us after the service today. We have been so far able to pretty much make enough money to pay that $150 a month for the recycling. So hopefully you will come and taste some great product and support this continued effort, because it's the right thing to do.
And so now we will sing the children to their classrooms.
Hi, my name is Derek Wagner. My pronouns are he and him. I am a white person in my mid-40s with short brown hair, wearing a blue plaid Oklahoma City Thunder shirt, and I serve on the Committee on Ministry. Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in our community, our Change for Change partners. For the month of April, our Change for Change partner is the Third Space Foundation for Juneteenth on the East Festival. The Third Space Foundation grew out of the Third Space, a co-working and community building environment in Norman, Oklahoma. Dr. Suzette Grillett founded the Third Space in the summer of 2019. Their mission is to create an empowering and supportive third place where all individuals feel welcomed and safe. Our contribution to the Third Space Foundation enables us to be sponsors of the Juneteenth on the East Festival. For those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, in just a moment, we'll be passing the offering plate. We know that many of you prefer to mail in a check or make your donations to Change for Change online. You can always make your gift by mailing a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change in the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, oneuc.org.
Take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River, where paradise lay. Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has halted. Won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. His coal train has hauled it away. Won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, by the Green River where paradise lay? Sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Daddy, won't you take me back to Curtin County, by paradise lay? Sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. That song was written in 1971 by John Prine, who at some personal peril, since his family lineage was from Kentucky, he took a lot of heat for writing that song, complaining about basically tearing up paradise for coal. And I have noticed some good news. We're down in the United States, we're down to 500 million tons of coal burned per year for electricity, which is still 500 million tons too much. But worldwide, we're still over 8 billion tons. We've got to do better. A couple of years ago, I instinctively decided to take up piano. I was going crazy. I think a lot of people were during the pandemic. It helped me to get in touch with the anxiety I've been feeling about climate change and the sixth great extinction. And if you don't know what that is, there have been 5 previous episodes of mass extinction, and we're losing a lot of different species still. Anthropocentric climate change is having devastating effects all over this wonderful planet, and historically marginalized people have suffered the most, unless, of course, you are one of the countless species that have gone extinct during the reign of humankind over nature. There is a profound sort of alienation that sets up in our soul when we can treat the interdependent web with a spirit of mindless conquering. Where is our home if it's not here? We could live in harmony. Instead, we destroy coral reefs. We could transition to greener fuels. Instead, we keep inventing more efficient ways to extract fossil fuels. We treat our home with contempt, and our bodies have become repositories for small pieces of plastic, the effects of which we're just now coming to grips with. These kinds of problems can be devastating to the spirit, and we need to acknowledge the emotions that well up when we know we have not done enough. Feelings of grief, anger, hope. There's a lot of hope that I think we can muster still. But it's working through these difficulties that I think is essential to build strength and resilience for the struggle ahead, because we'll be in this struggle for the rest of our lives, all of us. Now, the song I'm about to play was written by John Prine at the end of his career. So 1971 versus this latest one, 2018, right before he died of COVID in 2020. And to me, the song Summer's End evokes a strong feeling of alienation with a call for all of us to come home and live in harmony. And here we go. Summer's end is around the bend, just flying. The swimming suits are on the line, just drying. I'll meet you there per our conversation. I hope I didn't ruin your whole vacation. Well, you never know how far from home you're feeling until you've watched the shadows cross the ceiling. Well, I don't know, but I can see it snowing. In your car, the windows are wide open. Just come on home. Come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. Valentines break hearts and minds at random. That old Easter egg ain't got a leg to stand on. Well, I can see that you can't win for trying. And New Year's Eve is bound to leave you crying. Come on home, come on home. No, you don't have to be alone. Just come on home. The moon and stars hang out in bars just talking. I still love that picture of us walking. Just like that old house we thought was haunted. Summer's end came faster than we wanted. Come on home. Come on home.
Scott's reflection and John Prine's song lead right into this prayer, a prayer of sorrow, which came from a United Nations effort towards an environmental Sabbath. I invite you to join me in a time of spoken and then silent prayer or meditation. We have forgotten who we are. We have alienated ourselves from the movements of earth. We have turned our backs on the cycles of life. We have sought only our own security. We have exploited simply for our own ends. We have distorted our knowledge. We have abused our power. Now, in too many places, the land is barren, and the waters are poisoned, and the air is polluted. And now the forests are burning, and the creatures are disappearing, and the humans are despairing. And so, we ask to come home. We ask forgiveness. We ask for the gift of remembering. We ask for the strength to change, to turn around. And now let us share a few moments of silence. Amen. So be it. Blessed be. So tomorrow marks two major celebrations. One, as we know, is Earth Day, and the other, you probably know about that too, but we may not keep track of the timing, but the other is Passover, the Jewish festival of liberation from enslavement. Passover recalls the Exodus, the migration of the Israelites out of captivity and into freedom. And so at sundown tomorrow night, Jewish families will gather around a festive table, and the table will be set with candles, flowers, wine and juice, matzah, and a special Seder plate with symbolic foods. People will take turns telling the Exodus story from a text called the Haggadah. Songs will be sung and toasts will be made. Now, Earth Day and Passover don't always come together in the calendar, but when they do, it's kind of a happy coincidence. It gives us the chance to examine the ways in which liberation and ecology are interconnected. The origins of Passover are lost in time, but it almost certainly has its roots in pagan agricultural festivals. One was the celebration of the birth of young lambs in spring. The other had to do with crops, and it was called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It had to do with making a fresh start every spring. And I'm not Jewish, I was raised Methodist, but I have experienced the Seder, the Passover meal, off and on since college. My first Seder was at university in 1965, in my freshman year. It was only a few weeks after the historic voting rights marches in Alabama. Some of my classmates had just come back from Montgomery, where they'd been part of the James Foreman and SNCC-led voting rights demonstrations, and where they'd gotten a taste of the police violence that Black people have endured for decades. The Hillel House Seder made an explicit connection between the Exodus and the struggle for voting rights. It couldn't have been clearer. And my own association of ecology and liberation continued with Rabbi Arthur Waskow's publication of something called the Freedom Seder. This was created after Dr. King's assassination in 1968. My first husband was a secular New York Jew whose family hadn't been to synagogue in generations. They were communists, actually. But the Freedom Seder was important to us, and we celebrated it every year in Boston with good Jewish friends. Eventually, Rabbi Waskow developed an Earth Seder as well. But back when we were celebrating the Freedom Seder, it probably wouldn't have occurred to us to make that connection. Earth Day, of course, was founded in 1970, and many people who cared about civil rights also embraced it. But it took many of us a little while to see that violence against planet Earth and violence against human beings are connected. Environmentalists back then were often dismissed as middle-class tree huggers with little concern for poor people or people of color. But now it's over a half century since the first Earth Day, and I think most of us have come to see it differently. We've come to understand that ecology and liberation are deeply connected. The phrases environmental justice or earth justice may express the connection in a way that environmentalism did not. We are beginning to recognize that access to nature is good for everyone, no matter where we live. And we've learned that ecological crises fall hardest on people who've been pushed to the margins, whether by poverty, race, ethnicity, or something else. Hurricane Katrina in '05 made the connection very clear when the levees breached. The lower Ninth Ward was the most devastated part of New Orleans. And similarly, on the East Coast, Hurricane Sandy hit poor people hardest. During the off-season in beach areas, that's of course also hurricane season, poor people rented fragile summer bungalows in the summer and in the early fall and beyond because the rent was too high elsewhere. And so they suffered from the hurricane more than anyone else. We see another example of the connection with the environmental impact of government or corporate projects and the permitting of them. If you want to predict the location of a toxic waste dump, all you have to do is look at an area's demographics of race or class. The more affluent and white a community, the farther away is the dump. People in affluent communities have the power to resist it, so it's moved somewhere else. And something similar happened with the Dakota Access Pipeline, or DAPL, in Standing Rock Country. In the original plans for the pipeline, it was supposed to cross the Missouri River just north of Bismarck, North Dakota. And of course, that's the capital. But when the people of Bismarck quite rightly rejected or protested the pipeline out of concerns that their water supply would be endangered, the project was moved south, right smack in the middle of First Nation Sioux land. And the powers that be may have thought no one there would raise a fuss. Happily, they didn't know what they'd let themselves in for. My late husband Chuck and I actually drove up to Standing Rock from Albuquerque for a very short one-day clergy witness. So out of stories like these, Katrina and DAPL, there comes a concept. It's called sacrifice zones. And sacrifice zones could be the topic of an entire sermon. Certainly it could be an adult education program, but today we only have time to touch on it very briefly. Sacrifice zones are places that have been permanently changed by human-made environmental degradation, or those that are threatened by such. Certain geographic areas, certain ecosystems, certain communities are deemed expendable, supposedly for the common good. Thus, looking around the country, we have impoverished port cities plagued by pollution, like Newark and Camden in New Jersey. We have nuclear waste dumps in New Mexico, and of course we had the Trinity explosion. We have Cancer Valley in East Texas and in Louisiana, and here in Oklahoma, we have fracking, among other things. And then, of course, we have the former paradise, Kentucky, hauled away because of coal. And those are only a few of the U.S. examples of a worldwide issue. I found a piece a few years ago entitled "Why Earth Day is a Jewish Holiday," and it's written by a man named Robert Rabinowitz, an environmental consultant. And he speaks of earth justice on a global scale. He points out that worldwide, the poorest people often pay the price of pollution, drought, deforestation. Famines are an example. They are often caused not by a lack of food, but by a lack of access by some communities to food. Similarly, the destruction of tropical rainforests, on which everyone depends, is driven by a combination of political and economic insecurities. Powerful people put their personal interests above the basic interests of their people and the long-term interests of their countries as they liquidate natural resources. Meanwhile, Rabinowitz goes on, the extreme poverty of landless peasants drives them to ignore their long-term interests, so they cut down the forest that sustains them for firewood, for example. Robert Rabinowitz concludes, almost every environmental challenge we face has its roots in pervasive social imbalances, from pollution and water shortages to falling biodiversity and global warming. In a way, our natural environment is acting as a barometer of the spiritual and ethical health of our societies. And so Passover and Earth Day, coming together as they do this year, both give us a powerful opportunity for recommitment. They invite us to dedicate ourselves anew to environmental justice, to earth and all beings, to ecology and liberation. Just as at Passover, Jewish families hunt down every single breadcrumb in their homes, all of us on Earth Day are invited to a time of self-examination and action. We're invited to think of our own footprint on the planet, making changes to reduce it. We can hunt down and root out whatever hurtful patterns remain in our lives, those patterns that alienate us from Earth, alienate us from our fellow beings who share the planet with us. We can make small changes, recycling, reducing, reusing our examples. Meatless Mondays is another if we eat meat, and that down the road can make a big difference if everyone does it. We can also commit ourselves to some kind of advocacy. For example, we might join the Citizens Climate Lobby, people who write carefully targeted letters. If we are of a certain age, we can also join Bill McKibben's group, Third Act. As Rebecca Parker has said, none of us alone can change the world, but together, that is another possibility waiting. Near the end of every Passover Seder, participants raise a toast, next year in Jerusalem. Now these days, if it's taken literally, that's problematic if we look at the crisis in Gaza. But the toast can also be taken metaphorically to mean, next year, may all peoples be free, may all peoples be at peace. And so next year, may all be free, may all be at peace, may all share the bounty sustainably on our beautiful earth, which will be healed and transformed by steps we take today. So Peter Mayer, UU Troubadour, has set a song of his to the same tune that the choir just sang a little while ago. Let's turn in our turquoise hymnal to number 1064, Blue Boat Home.
Domino miai figli sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the light of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harm or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I've traveled, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Could somebody standing next to the chalice extinguish it, please? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of love and community that burns on in our hearts. So we invite everyone to join us in Daniel Hall for coffee, lemonade, and conversation. And I remind you that very good chocolate and coffee will be on sale to support the Sustainable Living Organization. Our benediction comes from words attributed to Chief Noah Sealth, otherwise known as Chief Seattle. This we know, the earth does not belong to us, we belong to earth. This we know, all things are connected, like the blood that unites one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls earth, befalls the children of earth. We did not weave the web of life. We are merely a strand in it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Go in peace and maybe renewed commitment to earth.